On the show today, Barbican Road in St. Andrews undergoing major improvement. We have the details. Plus, we're still preparing you for back to school, so parents, keep watching. Then later, help for sex crime victims. Hi, I'm Adrian Atkinson, and this is Jamaica Magazine. Please stay with us.
This is Romain Virgo. I'm here appeal to all of the youths them to just stay away from crime and violence. We know the temptation, the money, the fast life. People say them rate you. But that will only take you nowhere. If you stay in school and focus, then you can achieve anything. Be your own leader. A gang is a dead end.
A message from the Ministry of National Security.
Good day, I'm Theodore Henry, and this is your JIS News for Tuesday, August 8. The country's Chief National Security Advisor, Major General Anthony Anderson, is giving an assurance that the use of excessive force by security officers will not occur in the zones of special operation. Major Anderson was speaking with JIS's Ian Boyne during last Sunday's Issues and Answers program. The security advisor says ongoing human rights training for ground commanders and other officers will facilitate cordial relations with community members. But, he says, citizens should be aware that once a zone is established, there will be restrictions on movement and searches similar to that under a curfew.
What you don't want is the weapons to move elsewhere. The point is that we have to keep going back to there's a reason why a zone is being declared. And the reason anywhere that a zone is declared, it should be obvious to people that there has been a problem there. And the problem, at the root of the problem, are guns and the people who own them and what they've been doing with them.
Pointing out that the objective is to clear crime-affected communities of criminal activities and build a peaceful environment, Major General Anderson is urging citizens to cooperate with security personnel if their community is declared a zone of special operation.
If they ask for your identification, it's because they're trying to ascertain that you're not one of the people they want to separate you.
Who are threatening you, yes.
Because, you know, too often criminal organizations and communities get conflated into one thing. And so an action against a criminal is action against a community when it's not.
The zones of special operation will be governed by a strict accountability framework, including a reporting schedule of every 10 days to the National Security Commission. National Security State Minister Pernell Charles Jr. says the skills training and mentorship of juveniles in correctional centers are showing positive signs. He was speaking during a tour of the Rio Cobre Juvenile Correctional Center recently. The state minister says the engagement of the youngsters is part of the We Transform program designed to empower and equip them with the skills and certification for smooth reintegration in the society.
It increases the probability of them being employed and also becoming their own entrepreneurs. And it's also good for us not to just transform the lives of the wards, but to transform the thinking of the community members, of our ambassadors, of ourselves.
Similar sentiments were shared by Superintendent of the Rio Cobre Juvenile Correctional Center, Martin Dryden.
When we have these hands-on, we see the change, we see their eyes light up, because for the first time in their lives, a lot of them are able to take a piece of equipment and chisel a board and see how it is shaped into something else, and that is the way we want to shape their lives also.
Minister of Local Government and Community Development Desmond McKenzie says the engagement of summer workers in the auditing of ineffective streetlights will give a clear assessment of the government's expenditure for the utility.
Your accounting mechanism of the number of streetlights across the country that is not working will help us to work closely with the Jamaica Public Service Company in improving the service and, most importantly, reducing the costs to the government that we have to pay for streetlights on a monthly basis.
Minister Mackenzie was addressing the official launch of the National Youth Summer Employment Program recently. He says the assessment, which runs from August 14 to September 8, will also result in the retrofitting of the old Streetlight system to an energy-efficient model. Over 2,300 youth are enrolled in the employment program. In addition to the Streetlight audit, they will be engaged in the auditing of street signs and identifying vulnerable persons within communities who may require assistance during periods of natural disasters. The Mona Road and Wellington Drive intersection has been reduced to single-lane traffic to accommodate works associated with the Mona Road rehabilitation project. The single lane came into effect on Sunday, August 13, to facilitate the laying of sewer pipes by the National Water Commission. The National Works Agency says motorists traveling towards Mona Road from Wellington Drive should use Ottawa Avenue and then on to Mona Road. Motorists are also asked to obey the posted warning signs and the instructions of flagged persons. The Mona Road Rehabilitation Project is being done at a cost of $76 million under the Major Infrastructure Development Program. It involves drainage improvement, installation of sidewalks, and a turning lane from Mona Road onto Aurelia Avenue. The project is expected to be completed by the end of September 2017. And finally, Prime Minister Andrew Holness has extended condolences to the family of the Member of Parliament for South East St. Mary, Dr. Winston Green. Dr. Green died suddenly Monday morning. He was 58 years old. Prime Minister Holness says Dr. Green has given national service which must be commended. He adds that Dr. Green was one of those parliamentarians who served his constituency well, applauding his contribution to governance through politics. Dr. Green was a second-term Member of Parliament, having been elected in 2011 to represent the constituency of South East St. Mary. He served on the Public Administration and Appropriations Committee, and up to the time of his death, was a Member of Parliament's Internal and External Committee. Dr. Green was a dental surgeon and former Vice President of the Dental Association of Jamaica. And that's it for JIS News Today. I'm Theodore Henry. Thanks for watching.
Barbican Road users will soon be able to traverse with ease as the government is undertaking a major upgrading of the thoroughfare. It is expected that this road improvement will significantly alleviate the traffic congestion that has been a long-standing challenge in that area. Watch this.
The community of Barbican forms what is referred to as the Golden Triangle, situated in the lush environs of the St. Andrew Plateau. The community has over the years seen major residential and business developments, leading to an increase in vehicular traffic. Severe congestion has become the norm, resulting in loss of critical production hours for many commuters. The Barbican Corridor is one of the main arteries in the road network in this area, and as such is one of several roadways in the corporate area selected for major improvement work.
It is part of the bigger plan to improve traffic flow throughout the corporate area and to reduce congestion in several areas.
The National Works Agency, NWA, has embarked on the project to transform the roadway from 2 lanes to a 4-lane carriageway. Therefore, commuters traveling from areas such as Russell Heights, Graham Heights and Jacks Hill using this corridor to connect with other arterial roads will eventually enjoy smooth traffic flow.
This project is going to be done or is being done as part of the Major Infrastructure Development Program, which is that program valued at well over $300 million that we are implementing the GOJ along with the Chinese through the China Exim Bank.
A critical first step to facilitate construction of the additional lanes is the acquisition of properties. The process, which has already started, is being done through the Land Acquisition Act. The legislation makes provision for land acquisition for public purposes such as road construction. This authority is vested in the Commissioner of Lands, who has the power to acquire land either by private treaty or compulsory acquisition. Following the land acquisitions, the corridor between Russell Heights and Jacks Hill Road will be widened.
We have had to acquire some areas, and we are seeking to acquire some others. We are looking at some 27 parcels of land that will be acquired as part of this widening process.
This first phase in the road construction process is being done in tandem with the construction of new boundary walls, which represent the limits of the project.
A significant number does involve the relocation of boundaries, and this is just one of them that we're here doing along the stretch. In a couple of instances, we'll have to acquire buildings, so buildings will be demolished, boundary walls, setback, where it is that there are buildings to demolish, would have demolished those, so that we would be in a position to hand over the area to the contractor for the civil works to commence.
The work to be done also involves realigning the Barbican Road and East Kings House Road intersection to form a major T-junction, which will be signalized for better traffic movement. The junction at Birdsucker Lane and Barbican Road will also be outfitted with traffic lights.
What obtains now is that persons have to be pushing and boring and really putting themselves at risk sometimes to get onto the main road, which is Barbican Road. There are going to be sidewalks. It's going to be 4 lanes, much the same way we have had 4 lanes in other areas of the corporate area. Where it is that a median is required, we are going to be putting those so that we don't have conflicting movements in vehicles using this particular stretch.
The over 1 kilometer stretch of road improvement along Barbican Road is projected to be completed in about 4 months, after all the land acquisition is done and the project is handed over to the contractors.
While the project is ongoing, you know, we advise persons to exercise caution. There are going to be some teething pains. There are going to be some amount of difficulties or challenges while the project is ongoing, but it will be for our greater good. And so we are going to be asking them to work with us and as we work to complete what we hope to be a very successful project. Once the project is finished, what persons will see or should experience is a vast improvement in travel through this particular area, and from areas such as Russell Heights, Birdsucker Avenue, Jacks Hill Road, and East Kings House Road generally. So the entire area will be enhanced insofar as traffic management, congestion management is concerned.
We want a productive Jamaica. We all are productive Jamaicans. Productivity to move forward on this land. Productivity, that's the way to go, we should understand. Productivity is the way to go for all us Jamaicans. Small business, big business, old and young, we are tell every woman and man. We want growth and prosperity, free a better nation with a building plan. So we can build our product and sell our product and put more money in our hand. Our economy can rise to a level and build a better nation. Productivity to move forward on this land. Productivity, that's the way to go, we should understand. Productivity to move forward on this land. Productivity, that's the way to go, we should understand. Productivity.
Productivity, Pathway to Prosperity. A message brought to you by the Jamaica Productivity Center, a department of the Ministry of Labor and Social Security.
We know parenting is the hardest job ever. We can't predict or help you with all that you endure as a parent of a student. But here are some proven tips for helping your child to succeed in school.
Parents, be honest. We often slacken up on our commitments to our children, right? Yes. So today we have prepared a formula for you to change that. Joining me is Interim CEO of the National Parenting Support Commission, Mr. Andre Miller. Thanks for coming, Andre.
Thanks for having me.
One of the first things that I want to talk to you about is having your children read books from the book list before school begins.
Well, that's a good point. One of the things that we recognize is a widely held notion that children are not reading. That's not so. They are reading. What we note is that children are passive readers, especially during the summer period. So we must differentiate between information and education. So children will engage with reading via the WhatsApp and Twitter and Facebook. They are reading. But what you find is that that's passive reading. And passive reading does not necessarily augur well for their cognitive development, whilst active reading suggests that your child is embracing their intellectual rigor and their cognitive skills, and they're now engaging with the learning process. Maybe your child loves technology, and so maybe you can engage them by sending articles via WhatsApp to their phones that they can read, and you can question them about what they have read, and that is preparing your child to actually ready themselves for the new school year.
That's very good. And another problem that we have with our children in the school system is that some of these children are constantly late. So what do you have to say about, setting a bedtime and sticking to it and a wake-up time?
As you rightfully said, there should be a set time for your children to go to bed. But we go further to suggest that there are benefits for your children to take on these behaviors. In facilitating structure in the child's life, what you're doing is preparing the child for their adult years. You're teaching your child responsibility. So they're learning that there are consequences for staying up late.
A lot of parents are falling prey to feeding their children snacks that they know their children like, but are not necessarily nutritious or good for them. What do you have to say to parents about that?
Well, let's be frank. Children will always love cheese tricks and bag juice. When I was a boy, I loved cheese tricks and bag juice. And they're nice. But children will only engage in things that they want and not necessarily things that they need. And so parents have a role to play in the process. So help them to balance. So some cheese tricks today, but ensure that you have a lot of pineapple and a lot of melon tomorrow.
And another thing that a lot of parents are guilty about is, waiting until last minute to iron their clothes, the uniforms, every night they're ironing. We both know that that's not a very smart thing to do.
Well, in the first place, we know that parents are having an issue in terms of the economy. They would want to do more for their children, but they don't have the resources. And as such, we again promote the principle of structure in the life of the child. So we believe that parents should empower their children to be more responsible. So if it is at all possible, if your child can iron their uniforms as early as Sunday or Saturday for the week to come, that will help them. That will allow them to dedicate more time to the things that they need to, whether it be homework or maybe they want to play some more sports or some more video games. But it must be a trade-off.
Okay, a lot of these parents have forgotten to mention to their children that, you might be bullied, there's going to be peer pressure, how do you handle this, what's the best thing to do in scenarios?
The truth is, children who are bullied oftentimes don't speak out for fear of being ridiculed and for fear of not being believed. And as such, we want parents to realize that pick up some of the cues that your children will pass on to you when they're being bullied. If they're not giving in their homework on time, if they don't want to go to school regularly, if they don't want to go to a particular class, pick up some of these hints from your children and be able to have the conversation as to how they can deal with the matter.
We see where children are able to do well in academics, well in sports and other clubs, if they have the proper time management skills, the support, the encouragement. What's the importance of being an all-rounded child, doing well at everything that they set out to do?
The truth is, children have to be balanced. So whilst they're engaging in academics, we want them to also engage in extracurricular activities. But parents must provide an organized platform within which children are able to exercise all of these things in a responsible framework. They will not be able to do all the activities that they want to do and to give equal attention to each. And so in prioritizing some of these activities, you'll be able to contribute your time and to weigh your time against each of them therefore being able to do a plethora of things.
A lot of parents are afraid of being a friend of their child, but there are benefits of that as well.
We say to parents, hold them before you can't control them. And holding your children suggests that you know exactly what's happening with them. Parents have a busy schedule. We recognize that some of them go 9 to 5 and 5 to 9. But it's important for you to utilize technology to your advantage. Be smart as a parent. Set specific goals to develop your child in the development of your children. Measure those goals. Be able to monitor some of what you have established for your children. But the critical thing we want parents to do is to communicate with your children at all times. Sometimes you're unable to dedicate the full time to go into the room and talk with them, or maybe you can talk to them via WhatsApp. Maybe you can talk to them via Facebook. Know what is happening in the life of your child at all times. Again, hold them before you can't control them.
Thank you, Mr. Miller, for those useful ideas.
You're welcome.
Okay, so there you have it. Useful tips on how you can be your child's best parent this school year. For more information on the National Parenting Support Commission, call 967-7977. You may also follow them on Facebook, National Parenting Support Commission, or tweet at MPSC Jamaica.
The Ministry of Education, Youth and Information is committed to ensuring that every Jamaican child has the best learning environment to thrive and needs your cooperation to make the education system work successfully. That is why we are ensuring that all Jamaicans have full access to secondary education. Tuition is free of cost to you, but the government can't pay for everything, so do continue with your voluntary contributions. These contributions cover the expenses of co-curricular and sports activities and school development projects. We have also increased our support for PATH students. That's right, PATH students are not expected to make contributions, and they will be provided with 5 days of free lunches. We know that a hungry child cannot learn. The ministry has implemented a literature book rental program, free insurance and IDs for PATH students in high schools. This government cares for you. We believe that every child can learn. Every child must learn.
If you know someone who is a victim of a sex crime, please refer them to the Victim Support Unit. The staff there are trained and experienced in providing counseling and other support to these victims, free of charge. Take a look.
The issue of sexual assault against women and children, including rape, is a major concern for Jamaica. The government is working hard to not only put away the perpetrators of violence against women and children, but also to provide support to the victims. One organization which offers tremendous support to the victims of sex crimes is the Victim Services Division of the Ministry of Justice. Last year alone, the division provided assistance to more than 13,000 victims.
The government provides this support for victims, and it will provide the support from the day you become a victim of crime. It will follow you through the process. If you have to go to court, it has various innovative approaches that is designed to build your capacity to go through your victimization. The court support, court orientation program of the Victim Services Division is one which has gotten the commendation of police and court officials right across this country. It has several components. Well, even before we actually get into the court, we had a phase where we provided technical capacity building for judges and magistrates across the island, prosecutors, police officers, in understanding the dynamics when a person becomes a victim of a crime. So then there is the working with court, where there's an orientation program which involves us taking particularly children to court before the court day to help them to understand the lay of the land. We actually now provide them with a sense of orientation to understand what it means to be ready for court, and we want to make clear that this is not coaching them or interfering with the evidence and the facts of the case. This is just dealing with the psycho-emotional and the realities from, going to court back and forth. We also realized that a number of children were being victims of sex crime, and it's traumatic. And we felt we needed to bring just these victims into group counseling to be able to deal with some of the issues. We call it an overcomers program.
The Victim Services Division provides support to all, inclusive of free confidential counseling for all ages, no matter the victim's gender or sexual orientation.
It has gotten commendation from victims. We have a 95–96% rating among the persons who we serve.
This is where the magazine closes for today, but there's more to see on our webpage, jis.gov.jm. There you may find more information on government programs and policies. For more television features, visit our YouTube channel. We're also on various social media sites. You can also download our app from the Google Play Store to stay informed while you're on the go. I'm Adrian Atkinson. Do have a wonderful evening.
This has been a production of the Jamaica Information Service, the voice of Jamaica.